informed and that the client has the capacity or is capable. Well, I'd like to define that capable. It means that the person is able to understand the information relevant in making the decision about the treatment and able to appreciate the reasonable foreseeable consequences of a decision or lack of a decision. And that's what nurse Kara had said, that she is like, she knows what is going to happen with her. Okay, so if the healthcare team has a consensus that the client is capable enough to decide for her care after having a detailed and complete information, the client has all the autonomy to create her self-chosen plan of care. Okay, so if some members or the family would disagree with the client, they have to like ask the board to check on Mrs. George if she is really capable. But if the healthcare team would decide that she is capable, the family can't do anything about it. Okay, that's all I could say.
Interesting, interesting, lawyer Anuvik. So much wealth of knowledge of the law from you. Thank you so much for that. We all then will decide, will need to decide using the ethical decision framework, the best possible course of action for Mrs. George and her family. And not forgetting the ethical principles, like we rightly mentioned, of autonomy and veracity. Okay, so my thought initially were on whether Mrs. George was or is capable to make informed decision, but we cleared that and we've established the fact that she's capable, she's able and mentally capable to refuse or give consent to treatment. Right, but I from what we've said now, so many values at stake. Nurse Kyra, what are those values in conflict?
In these conflicts, according to my perspective, client choice is the best decision. Like, we all health professional consider that thing in our mind before doing or taking any step. Furthermore, we also have to think upon the client well-being as well. As in this case, client's disease condition is deteriorating. That's why physician told for the surgery. So in this way, we have to take the decision that will also benefit the patient and as well as their family.
Okay, thank you for clarifying those values. Nurse Mandeep, as the nurse leader in the unit, how would you handle the family of Mrs. George? How would you handle them?
Yes, I will educate the family that the decision which will be taken by Mrs. George will be final, because before surgery we have to take a consent from the Mrs. George, and she is fully aware regarding the consequences of the surgery. So we will educate the family that we cannot conduct a surgery without a consent from Mrs. George. So we cannot force patient for surgery, and we also need to provide the care to the patient to eliminate the suffering, but we cannot perform a surgery without the consent of the patient.
Right. Dr. Kamal, any last words from you?
Actually, I think patient decisions were influenced by cultural and religious norms, which exalt the sanctity of life, and it's a very horrible decision for amputation, as they will lose their dependence. They will be totally dependent on others, and I think it's a horrible thought for Mrs. George. That's why she doesn't want this treatment, and she wants to go for a medical treatment.
Thank you, Dr. Kamal. While I may disagree with being very horrible, but I want to respect the position that everybody has their unique individual strength and values. So thank you all. Thank you, ladies, for coming on this panel. So I will read out, upon deliberation of this honorable panel, a decision or a best possible course of action on this decision, on this ethical conflict. So the first is to critically assess the situation, which is what we are on right now. And the second, to recognize the values. The third, we are going to invite Mrs. George's religious leader, like we've all established that this is something that has to do with her religious values and cultural values. So we're inviting the religious leaders. And then, as hard as it is, we will go with Mrs. George's decision on the plan of care not to amputate her. And finally, nurses, the nurse leader and nurse Kyra, to educate the family to respect Mrs. George's decision. With that, ladies, we've come to the end of a beautiful session. Thank you all for your contributions, and hope to have you contribute sometime soon when we call you again for another ethical deliberation.